The leader of one of the world's biggest drug cartels has been arrested in Texas. Ismael Zambada, known as El Mayo,
also arrested Thursday alongside Mr. Zambada was the son of the notorious El Chapo Guzman, Joaquin Guzman Lopez.
Like something straight out of a movie, El Mayo's reign as the leader of the Sinaloa Drug Cartel just came to a climactic end. One of the biggest drug cartel kingpins was lured onto a plane by a rival's son. After being tricked, he was flown to the U.S., where he was immediately arrested. Whether it be incarceration or a rival's bullet, all drug kingpins seem to meet their dramatic demise. Get ready to dive into the thrilling and chaotic world of these infamous drug lords, where their rise to power is matched only by their spectacular falls. Number 16. Ismael El Mayo Zambada. Ismael El Mayo Zambada was a different breed of cartel boss. In a world saturated with ostentatious wealth, brazen escapes, and relentless brutality, Zambada cultivated an air of quiet authority. He was a phantom operating in the shadows alongside the notorious Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, together transforming the Sinaloa cartel from a local operation into a global drug empire. Zambada's reach extended far beyond the cartel and was rumored to influence judges, generals, and even Mexican presidents. The Sinaloa cartel's meteoric rise to power in the 1990s was largely attributed to Zambada's strategic prowess. A master of forging alliances, he unified former members of the Guadalajara cartel, strengthening Sinaloa's grip on the drug trade. By the late 1990s, Zambada had emerged as a dominant force, orchestrating the movement of multi-ton shipments of cocaine and marijuana and multi-kilogram quantities of heroin across borders. His sophisticated network smuggled cocaine from Colombia to Mexico using boats and even submarines before flowing into the United States through a network of trucks, cars, and airplanes. Zambada, who was worth an estimated $3 billion, diversified his vast drug-fueled fortune, investing heavily in legitimate businesses and acquiring extensive real estate holdings throughout Mexico. He was a ghost, evading capture and solidifying his legend as the last man standing on Mexico's most wanted list, a list that once boasted 37 drug lords, but even ghosts can be caught. In July 2024, after decades on the run, Zambada's reign came to an abrupt end. Lured onto a private airplane by El Chapo's own son, Joaquin Guzman Lopez, under the guise of a real estate venture, Zambada unwittingly stepped onto a path leading straight into the hands of United States law enforcement. His arrest alongside Guzman Lopez in El Paso, Texas, sent shockwaves through the underworld and signaled a major victory for United States authorities. Number 15. Pablo Escobar. Pablo Escobar, the notorious Colombian drug lord, was one of the most powerful criminals the world has ever seen. Known for his ruthless nature, Escobar let nothing and no one stand in his way. In the early 1970s, alongside other criminals, he formed the infamous Medellin cartel. Escobar masterminded the large-scale trafficking of cocaine, utilizing private planes to transport the drugs to the United States. The demand for cocaine in the United States was incredibly high, leading to skyrocketing profits for Escobar and his cartel. It is estimated that the Medellin cartel controlled 80% of the cocaine that was shipped to the United States market during the 1970s and 80s. The scale of their operations was staggering, with more than 15 tons of cocaine being smuggled into the United States every day. The cartel's weekly earnings were estimated to be as much as $420 million. Escobar's wealth enabled him to build a personal empire that included 400 luxury villas around the globe, a fleet of private planes, his own army, and even a private zoo filled with exotic animals. This extravagant wealth earned him the 7th spot on Forbes' list of the richest people in the world in 1989, with an estimated net worth of $3 billion. In a carefully orchestrated move, Escobar surrendered to Colombian authorities in June 1991. However, he negotiated a deal allowing him to construct his own luxurious prison, La Catedral. Staffed by Escobar's hand-picked employees, it featured a casino, a spa, and even a nightclub. When authorities attempted to transfer Escobar to a standard prison in June 1992, he escaped, instigating a 16-month manhunt. On December 2, 1993, one day after his 44th birthday, Escobar's reign of terror ended. Authorities were able to pinpoint his location through a phone call and surrounded his hideout in Medellin. As he attempted to flee across rooftops with his bodyguard, they were both shot and killed. Number 14. Joaquin Guzman. Joaquin Guzman, better known by his infamous nickname El Chapo, was a name whispered in hushed tones from the mountains of Mexico to the bustling cities of the United States. He was the most notorious drug lord since Pablo Escobar, leading Mexico's powerful Sinaloa cartel with a cunning blend of ruthlessness and business knowledge. El Chapo's sprawling drug empire, built on a foundation of cocaine, brought him immense wealth and cemented his place among the world's elite criminal masterminds. In 2011, he was ranked the 10th richest man in Mexico with an estimated net worth of $1 billion. The Sinaloa Cartel, under El Chapo's command, became a global enterprise, a well-oiled machine of illicit trade. They orchestrated the movement of multi-ton shipments of cocaine from Colombia through Mexico to the United States using a sophisticated network of planes, boats, and trucks. Their distribution network snaked its way across the United States, reaching major cities and small towns alike. The cartel diversified its portfolio, engaging in the production, smuggling, and distribution of Mexican methamphetamine and marijuana, and expanding its reach to include heroin trafficking from Southeast Asia. El Chapo was a survivor, a master strategist who, for decades, managed to remain one step ahead of the law. He outmaneuvered, outfought, or simply outbribed his rivals, securing his position at the helm of the drug trade. His life was a whirlwind of daring escapes and inevitable recaptures. In 2015, El Chapo pulled off his most audacious escape yet, vanishing from a high-security prison through a tunnel dug directly into his cell by loyal associates. A massive manhunt ensued, culminating in his recapture in January 2016 after a bloody shootout in his home state of Sinaloa. His reign finally came crashing down in 2017 with his extradition to the United States. He was found guilty of numerous criminal charges related to his leadership of the Sinaloa Cartel in 2019 and sentenced to life imprisonment, bringing a definitive end to his criminal career. Number 13. Amado Carrillo Fuentes. Amado Carrillo Fuentes ruled the Mexican drug trade in the 1990s. He rose to power through cunning and ruthlessness, seizing control of the Juarez cartel after orchestrating the assassination of his boss, Rafael Aguilar Guajardo. Carrillo was a visionary in the world of drug trafficking, and his ambition knew no bounds. He quickly established himself as a dominant force, eclipsing his rivals and earning the nickname El Señor de los Cielos, the Lord of the Skies. Carrillo's nickname reflected his innovative smuggling tactics. He assembled a fleet of over 22 private Boeing 727 jet airliners, transforming these massive aircraft into airborne drug mules. His fleet bypassed traditional smuggling routes, landing instead on dirt airstrips and even municipal airports across Mexico, including his stronghold in Juarez. At his peak, he was moving 4 times more cocaine in the United States than any other trafficker on the planet. His empire generated unimaginable wealth, turning him into a billionaire. Analysts estimated his fortune to be near $25 billion, placing him among the wealthiest individuals on the planet. As Carrillo's power and notoriety grew, so did the scrutiny from law enforcement agencies. The DEA and Mexican authorities were closing in, their every move tracked by a web of surveillance. Sensing the net tightening, Carrillo made a fateful decision, a desperate gamble to evade capture and preserve his empire. He decided to undergo extensive plastic surgery, hoping to alter his appearance and disappear into the shadows. However, fate had other plans. In July 1997, Amado Carrillo Fuentes died in a Mexican hospital following complications from his plastic surgery. His death, shrouded in mystery and speculation, made headlines around the world, and so his reign as the Lord of the Skies came to an abrupt and unexpected end. Number 12. Griselda Blanco. Griselda Blanco projected an image of matronly respectability. However, she was a ruthless and powerful figure in the Miami cocaine trade during the 1970s and 80s. Her influence extended to the notorious Medellin cartel, where her ruthlessness earned her a fearsome reputation. Blanco's drug empire generated an estimated $80 million per month during its peak, and her personal wealth reached an astonishing $2 billion. What set Griselda Blanco apart from other female crime lords was her chilling capacity for violence. Her criminal career began at the tender age of 11 when she committed her first murder, executing a kidnapped young boy after his family failed to meet her ransom demands. Blanco's ruthlessness extended even to her personal life. She was implicated in the deaths of her 3 ex-husbands, and this earned her the ominous nickname, the Black Widow. Law enforcement officials estimated that Blanco was directly responsible for over 200 murders during her reign of terror. Her violent tendencies eventually caught up with her. The murder of a Colombian supplier's niece turned the powerful Medellin cartel against her, making her a target in a dangerous game of survival. Facing threats from both law enforcement and former allies, Blanco was constantly on the move, desperately trying to evade capture and assassination attempts. In 1985, she was apprehended and charged with 3 homicides. She was eventually released in 2004 due to prosecutorial errors and deported to her native Colombia. Back on familiar ground, Blanco attempted to live a quiet life, hoping to disappear into the background. However, her past eventually caught up with her. In 2012, Griselda Blanco was gunned down by a passing motorcyclist while shopping at a local butcher shop, bringing a violent end to a violent life. Number 11, Carlos Lehder. Carlos Lehder, the son of a Colombian mother and a German father, emerged as a prominent figure in the Colombian drug trade, co-founding the notorious Medellin cartel. His beliefs were a bizarre mix of political extremism and entrepreneurial ambition, evident in his self-proclaimed Nazi ideology and his practice of marking kilos of cocaine with swastikas. Lehder's criminal enterprise was extraordinarily profitable, generating an estimated $300 million annually at its peak. This vast wealth fueled a lavish lifestyle characterized by extravagance and excess. His personal fortune, a reflection of his illicit success, soared to an estimated $2.7 billion, solidifying his status as a major player in the global drug trade. To facilitate his smuggling operations, Lehder purchased a small island in the Bahamas, transforming it into a strategic hub between cocaine suppliers in Colombia and his primary market in the United States. This island became Lehder's fortress, a well-equipped air base for his drug smuggling empire. He constructed multiple hangars, deployed armed guards, and built a runway capable of accommodating large passenger jets, showcasing his ambition and logistical prowess. Lehder's innovations extended beyond infrastructure. He revolutionized the drug trade by introducing small, private planes for smuggling. Before his time, human mules risked their lives transporting small quantities of drugs in suitcases aboard commercial flights. Lehder's methods increased efficiency and reduced risks, transforming the industry and solidifying his reputation as a criminal innovator. His reign of power, however, was not to last. In the early 1980s, the Colombian government, under pressure from the United States, initiated a crackdown on drug cartels, extraditing high-profile traffickers to face justice in American courts. Lehder, a prime target due to his high profile, was apprehended and extradited in 1987. He was subsequently convicted and sentenced to life in prison, plus 135 years. In 1992, Lehder struck a deal with United States authorities, agreeing to testify against former ally and Panamanian dictator Manuel Noriega in exchange for a reduced sentence of 55 years. Number 10, Ociel Cardenas Guillen. Ociel Cardenas Guillen rose from humble beginnings as a mechanic in Matamoros, Mexico, to become the leader of the infamous Gulf Cartel. His ascent to power was marked by a chilling act of betrayal as he assassinated his former boss, Chava Gomez. This earned him the moniker El Mata Amigos, the friend killer. Under Cardenas' leadership, the Gulf Cartel underwent a chilling transformation, seeking to gain an edge in the brutal Mexican drug war. Cardenas orchestrated the recruitment of a group of elite Mexican Special Forces soldiers, disillusioned with their pay and eager for wealth and power. This deadly new faction within the Gulf Cartel became known as Los Zetas. Los Zetas, with their advanced military training and access to sophisticated weaponry, quickly established themselves as a force to be reckoned with. They were expert marksmen, proficient in the use of weapons beyond the reach of rival cartels, and capable of lightning-fast deployments. With Los Zetas at his disposal, Cardenas transformed the Gulf Cartel into one of the most powerful and feared drug trafficking organizations in the world. Cardenas' ruthlessness extended beyond the criminal underworld. In 1999, Cardenas and his entourage surrounded a vehicle carrying 2 United States federal agents, one from the FBI and the other from the DEA, who were escorting a high-level Gulf Cartel informant through Matamoros. A tense standoff ensued, with Cardenas threatening the lives of the agents. The agents narrowly avoided execution by appealing to Cardenas and reminding him of the relentless pursuit he would face from United States authorities if they were harmed. The incident prompted the FBI to place a $2 million bounty on Cardenas's head. In March 2003, Cardenas's reign of terror came to an end when he was apprehended by the Mexican army during a fierce gun battle in Matamoros. He was imprisoned in Mexico's highest security penitentiary, Penal del Altiplano, known as La Palma. Despite his incarceration, Cardenas continued to exert influence over the Gulf Cartel's operations from within prison walls. In 2007, he was extradited to the United States to face charges of drug trafficking and the assault on federal agents. In 2010, Cardenas was convicted and sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. Number 9. Miguel Ángel Félix Gallardo. Miguel Ángel Félix Gallardo, a man who would later become infamous as the godfather of the Mexican drug trade, initially sought a life of normalcy. He pursued higher education, studying business in college, and even secured employment with Mexico's federal judicial police, a seemingly respectable path. However, the allure of vast wealth and power proved too tempting, and Gallardo soon found himself entangled in the treacherous world of drug trafficking. He began his criminal career under the wing of Pedro Avilés Pérez, a prominent drug lord operating in Sinaloa. Gallardo's intelligence and ambition quickly became apparent. He excelled in navigating the cartel's operations, demonstrating a keen understanding of logistics, negotiation, and, most importantly, exploiting corruption. He orchestrated complex bribery schemes, securing the cooperation of government officials and ensuring protection for the cartel's illicit activities. When Perez was killed in a shootout with law enforcement, a power vacuum emerged. Gallardo, along with a group of trusted associates, seized the opportunity. Recognizing the strategic importance of expansion, they relocated the cartel's operations from Sinaloa to Guadalajara, establishing the foundation for the notorious Guadalajara cartel. This strategic maneuver would transform Guadalajara into a major hub for drug trafficking and solidify Gallardo's rise to power. Gallardo formed a lucrative alliance with Colombia's powerful cocaine cartels, most notably Pablo Escobar's Medellin cartel, securing exclusive distribution rights for their cocaine into the United States market. This partnership brought unprecedented wealth to the Guadalajara cartel, generating an estimated $5 billion annually. Gallardo's empire extended beyond cocaine. He oversaw vast marijuana plantations, effectively controlling the flow of narcotics from Mexico into the United States. Gallardo's reign, however, was short-lived. On April 8, 1989, Mexican authorities, acting on information related to the 1985 kidnapping, torture, and murder of DEA agent Enrique Camarena, apprehended Gallardo in Guadalajara. He was convicted on charges of drug trafficking, racketeering, and multiple violent crimes, including Camarena's murder, and sentenced to 40 years in prison. Number 8. Arturo Beltran Leyva. Known infamously as the boss of bosses, Arturo Beltran Leyva was a towering figure in the world of Mexican drug trafficking. Alongside his brothers, he founded and led the formidable Beltran Leyva cartel. Beltran Leyva's journey into the heart of Mexico's drug war began within the ranks of the Sinaloa cartel, where he spent years honing his skills and rising through the hierarchy. He learned the intricacies of the drug trade, forging alliances and eliminating rivals with calculated precision. When the opportunity arose, he and his brothers broke away from the Sinaloa cartel, establishing their own criminal empire, the Beltran Leyva cartel. Under his leadership, the cartel flourished, its tentacles reaching deep into the Americas. They trafficked in cocaine, marijuana, heroin, and methamphetamine, transforming themselves into a multi-billion-dollar criminal enterprise. Their influence extended far beyond drug trafficking. They controlled lucrative smuggling corridors into the United States, laundered vast sums of money, and trafficked weapons. The cartel's brutality knew no bounds, as evidenced by the assassinations of countless Mexican law enforcement officials who dared to challenge their dominance. Beltran Leyva's reign of terror made him a prime target for Mexican authorities. He was placed on Mexico's most wanted list, with a $2.1 million bounty placed on his head. On December 11, 2009, Mexican Navy intelligence tracked Beltran Leyva to an upscale gated community in Ahuatepec, Morelos, where he was hosting a lavish Christmas party. An elite special forces unit surrounded the house, but Beltran Leyva managed to escape during the ensuing firefight. 3 of his gunmen were killed, along with an innocent bystander, and several bodyguards were apprehended. The Mexican Navy, however, was relentless. 5 days later, they located Beltran Leyva at another luxury apartment complex in Cuernavaca. A fierce 90-minute gun battle erupted as Mexican Marines, supported by helicopters and armored vehicles, stormed the building. In the end, Beltran Leyva and 3 of his gunmen lay dead. Their reign of terror finally brought to an end. A 4th gunman chose to take his own life rather than face justice. Number 7, José de Jesús Méndez Vargas. Next up is José de Jesús Méndez Vargas, better known by his alias El Chango, which means the monkey in Spanish. Méndez is a notorious Mexican drug lord and the former leader of the now-defunct La Familia Drug Cartel, which had its stronghold in the state of Michoacán. Méndez ascended to power within the cartel under dramatic and violent circumstances. He took control after the former leader, Nazario Moreno, was reportedly killed in a fierce gun battle with the Mexican Federal Police on December 9, 2010. In order to protect himself, Méndez surrounded himself with 12 heavily armed bodyguards, whom he referred to as the 12 Apostles. His influence and reputation grew significantly as he managed the production and trafficking of methamphetamine, a highly lucrative and dangerous enterprise. Under Méndez's leadership, La Familia Drug Cartel became infamous for its ruthless tactics to maintain control over drug trafficking routes. They engaged in numerous violent confrontations with rival cartels, fiercely battling for dominance in the drug trade. Despite his power and the protective ring of his 12 apostles, Méndez's reign came to an abrupt end on June 21, 2011. On this day, he was captured at a road checkpoint by the Mexican Federal Police in the state of Aguascalientes. His capture was a significant victory for law enforcement, especially considering the Mexican government had offered a substantial bounty of $2.1 million for information leading to his arrest. Adding to his legal troubles, on April 8, 2014, Méndez faced a crucial setback. A Mexican federal court rejected his plea to avoid extradition to the United States, where he faced serious drug trafficking charges. Number 6, Gilberto Rodríguez Orejuela. For over 2 decades, Gilberto Rodríguez Orejuela, known as El Ajedrecista, the chess player, reigned as a mastermind of the global cocaine trade. He was a founder and leader of the notorious Cali Cartel, a powerful confederation of 15 Colombian drug trafficking organizations that rose to prominence in the 1980s. Rodríguez Orejuela, along with his younger brother Miguel, orchestrated a sophisticated criminal enterprise that stretched from Colombia to the streets of Miami and beyond. Under the Rodríguez Orejuela brothers' leadership, the Cali Cartel established a stranglehold on the international cocaine market. They controlled an estimated 80% of the cocaine flowing into the United States and 90% of the European market. At the height of their power, the brothers amassed a fortune estimated at $3 billion. Despite their notoriety and the trail of violence and corruption that followed in their wake, the Rodríguez Orejuela brothers managed to cultivate an air of legitimacy. Gilberto, in particular, was adept at masking his criminal activities behind a facade of respectability. He portrayed himself as a businessman and invested his ill-gotten gains in legitimate businesses. This carefully crafted image allowed him to evade capture for years, even as he became one of the United States' most wanted fugitives. However, in 1995, after years of investigation and a series of high-profile arrests, Colombian authorities captured Gilberto Rodríguez Orejuela. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison and this was a significant victory for law enforcement on both sides of the border. However, he was granted early release in 2002, but his newfound freedom was short-lived. In 2003, he was rearrested on new charges related to his drug trafficking activities. Facing the prospect of spending the rest of his life behind bars, he was extradited to the United States, where he was sentenced to 30 years in prison. He died in a federal prison in North Carolina in 2022 at the age of 83. Number 5. Dairo Antonio Usuga. The ascent of Dairo Antonio Usuga, aka Otoniel, to the apex of the Colombian drug trade was a brutal and bloody journey marked by a complex interplay of guerrilla warfare, organized crime, and ruthless ambition. Otoniel's path to notoriety began at the age of 18 when he joined the ranks of the Popular Liberation Army in 1989. The EPL, a leftist guerrilla group deeply entrenched in Colombia's rural areas, fought to defend impoverished farmers against powerful landowners and a government they perceived as indifferent to their plight. By the early 2000s, Colombia's drug trade was undergoing a seismic shift. With the demise of Pablo Escobar and the dismantling of the Medellin cartel, new players emerged to fill the void. Among them was the Los Urabeños, a ruthless criminal organization that quickly gained a reputation for violence and impunity. In 2005, Otoniel joined the ranks of Los Urabeños, aligning himself with its leader, Daniel Rendon Herrera. Otoniel, along with his brother Giovanni, quickly rose through the ranks of Los Urabeños, their ruthlessness and military experience proving invaluable in the cartel's bloody turf wars. In 2009, tragedy struck when Giovanni was killed during a police raid. In the aftermath of his brother's death, Otoniel assumed complete control of Los Urabeños, transforming it into one of the most powerful and feared criminal organizations in the world. Under Otoniel's leadership, Los Urabeños expanded their operations, trafficking tons of cocaine and engaging in a brutal campaign of violence and intimidation. Otoniel's reign of terror, however, could not last forever. After a decade-long manhunt, Colombian authorities finally captured Otoniel in October 2021. On May 4, 2022, Otoniel was extradited to the United States to face a slew of drug trafficking charges. The following year, he pleaded guilty to these charges in a U.S. federal court and now awaits sentencing, his fate hanging in the balance. Number 4. Jorge Alberto Rodriguez. Meet Jorge Alberto Rodriguez Herrera, the leader of a secretive and highly sophisticated cell within the Cali cartel, which has since been dismantled. Rodriguez began his venture into the world of smuggling in 1983, guided by his father, Gilberto Rodriguez Orihuela. Under his leadership, Rodriguez formed a specialized cell that employed 400 highly skilled, educated, and dangerous criminals from various parts of the world. This included numerous high-ranking government officials and law enforcement officers who were seduced by the allure of power and wealth. Rodriguez was also a suspect in multiple murders, and this further cemented his fearsome reputation. Beyond his violent undertakings, he was a master of financial manipulation. Rodriguez laundered over $40 million through Colombia, using these funds to build and maintain a fleet of planes in the United States, significantly bolstering his drug trafficking operations. In October 1995, his illegal activities drew the attention of the United States Department of the Treasury, which sanctioned Rodriguez along with 11 other international criminals for their involvement in drug trafficking. This sanction made it illegal for United States citizens and companies to engage in any business with him and effectively froze all his assets in the United States, which were estimated to be worth over $900 million at the time. Rodriguez's downfall came on July 6, 1990, when he was arrested by United States Customs in a Special Forces unit of the United States Army in Tallahassee, Florida. This arrest followed his orchestration of the importation of 100 kilograms of cocaine into the United States. Following a 3-day trial in October 1990, Rodriguez was found guilty of narcotics offenses and sentenced to 25 years in prison. Additionally, he received a further 45-year sentence for heading an international criminal enterprise, ensuring his lengthy incarceration. Number 3. Daniel Barrera Barrera. Daniel Barrera Barrera, or El Loco as he was known throughout the Colombian underworld, cast a long shadow over the international drug trade. His ambition to dominate the cocaine trade led many to draw parallels between him and the notorious Pablo Escobar. Barrera's journey into the heart of Colombia's drug underworld began in the 1980s in the rural region of San Jose del Guaviare. He learned the intricacies of the drug trade with the help of his brother, Omar Barrera, establishing a foothold in the burgeoning cocaine industry. In 1990, Barrera's rise to prominence was briefly interrupted when he was apprehended by Colombian authorities on drug trafficking charges. His imprisonment, however, proved to be a minor setback. In a daring escape that same year, he slipped through the grasp of authorities and disappeared. By the mid-1990s, Barrera had established himself as a prominent figure in the Colombian drug trade. He cultivated relationships with various factions within the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, a leftist guerrilla group deeply involved in the drug trade, sourcing coca base and semi-processed cocaine from their labs in the jungle. Barrera's network also extended to the Norte del Valle cartel, a powerful drug trafficking organization that controlled a significant portion of Colombia's cocaine exports. Barrera, however, was not content to remain a middleman, and so he forged strategic alliances that catapulted him to the top tier of Colombia's drug trafficking hierarchy. His extensive network of collaborators included former paramilitaries and leftist guerrillas, all of whom helped him transport cocaine from Colombia's eastern plains to destinations in the United States and Europe. On September 18, 2012, Barrera was apprehended by Venezuelan security forces in San Cristobal. He was quickly extradited back to Colombia, and in 2013, Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos approved Barrera's extradition to the United States, where he faced charges of money laundering and drug trafficking. In July 2016, he was sentenced to 35 years in prison, marking the end of his reign as one of Colombia's most powerful and elusive drug lords. Number 2. Francisco Rafael Arellano Felix. Francisco Rafael Arellano Felix, the eldest of the notorious Arellano Felix brothers, was a founding member of the Tijuana Cartel, a ruthless criminal organization that rose to prominence in Mexico's brutal drug wars. Francisco Rafael joined the Tijuana Cartel in 1980, encouraged by his brother Benjamin. When the Arellano Felix brothers took over the cartel in the early 1990s, they faced fierce rivalry from the Sinaloa Cartel. This rivalry led to numerous violent clashes and killings between the two powerful groups. Within the Tijuana Cartel, Francisco Rafael was responsible for coordinating the purchase and sale of narcotics destined for the United States. In 1993, Mexican authorities apprehended Francisco Rafael in Tijuana, landing him in the infamous Federal Social Readaptation Center No. 1, a maximum security prison designed to hold Mexico's most dangerous criminals. After serving several years, he was extradited to the United States in 2006 to face drug trafficking charges in a California federal court. He was released from prison in 2008 and deported back to Mexico. Having completed his sentence, he returned to a life free from immediate legal constraints. However, the cartel world he once navigated was unforgiving. On October 18, 2013, while celebrating his birthday in Los Cabos, a gunman disguised as a clown fatally shot Francisco Rafael, bringing a dramatic close to the life of the once powerful drug lord. Number 1. Ignacio Nacho, Coronel Villarreal. At number 1, we have Ignacio Nacho, Coronel Villarreal. Coronel carved out his own empire within the Sinaloa Cartel, a powerful criminal organization headed by Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. From his stronghold in Jalisco, he orchestrated vast drug trafficking operations. Coronel specialized in moving multi-ton quantities of cocaine. Using fishing vessels, he transported the drug from Colombia to Mexico and then into the United States, specifically to Texas and Arizona, during the early 2000s. His network's reach extended beyond North America, impacting several European, Central American, and South American countries. In Mexico, he earned the nickname King of Crystal due to his dominance in the production and trafficking of crystal methamphetamine. Both the United States and Mexican governments recognized the threat posed by Coronel and launched extensive manhunts to bring him to justice. The United States Department even offered a $5 million reward for information leading to his capture. On July 29, 2010, Coronel's reign of terror came to a bloody end in a shootout with the Mexican army in Zapopan, Jalisco. He died in a hail of bullets, a final act of defiance that only cemented his legacy as one of Mexico's most ruthless and powerful drug lords. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.